Hello ladies, this video is looking at the solutions to the Algebra Skills quiz number 2. So a lot of you had a bit of trouble with this quiz. So this video is going to go through the solutions for every question. But in addition to this, please make sure that you're practicing your like terms, especially using that website I gave you. That is a very useful tool, and also going back to your textbook questions to have a look at them, because collecting like terms is probably at this stage the hardest part of algebra that you will encounter. All right, so let's go through question 1. So simplify the following by collecting like terms. All right, I'm going to do this. Let's go straight back to the basics. Anything that is a like term, I'm going to color in the same. So we only look at the pronumeral part. It doesn't matter about the number out the front. So we've got a D here, a D here, a D here, and a D here. So that's fine. They're all like terms. So if you want to, you can think of them as donuts. So I have 5 donuts plus 7 donuts gives me 12 donuts. Plus another donut gives me 13 donuts. Minus 2 donuts is 11 donuts. All right, the next question, okay, I'm going to underline again in red the like terms. So the first one, we have 5st and we have minus st here, but ts is the same as st, okay, because we have a imaginary multiply sign in there, so that is equal to st, and if we had t times s, that is also equal to st, because it doesn't matter the order that you're multiplying it, and that also equals ts. Okay, so the order does not matter. It's the same as if I was saying 2 times 10 is the same as 10 times 2. Okay, so the order doesn't matter. So for question B, we're at 5st plus 3ts, okay, which is 8, minus st is 7st. All right, the next one, we've got a few different like terms here. So I'm going to underline any x's under red, under red, with the red, and we've got an x here, but there's also a y. So they're not like terms because of the y there with it. Okay, so then we've got also 5y and negative 3y, and our last term is xy. So in this one here, we actually have 3 different types of terms. Okay, so all 3 different pronumeral parts. We have the x and the x, the y, and an xy. So the xy is not the same as x on itself and y by itself. Okay, so you need to remember that. All right, you can rewrite them by bringing it together, but underlining it also helps. But remember, the sign stays with the term. So this x is actually a minus x. So when I do the 3x, I have 3x minus x gives me 2x. And then I have 5y minus 3y, which is minus 2y, and then plus xy. And I think I just made a mistake there. It should be a plus. So 5y minus 3y is 2y. Let's keep going. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with my red, underline anything with an m, and the m squared is not the same. It's not a like term, so I'm just going to underline that in red, and over here to show you. So m squared is the same as m times m, okay? So that is not the same as just m by itself. All right, let's add them together. So 10m and minus 3m gives me 7m, and then we've just got 1m squared, so we'll just go plus m squared. All right, for the next one, it's another donut question. I'm not going to underline it because they're all D's, but we have 1D, or 1 donut, plus 4 more is 5 donuts, minus 2 donuts is 3 donuts, minus another 3 donuts, and we have 0. We don't write 0D although there's nothing wrong with that. But if your answer is 0, we just write 0 because this is the same as saying 0 times d, and anything multiplied by 0 is just 0. Okay, so you need to remember that. All right, let's just scroll down for F. Okay, so we've got all x squareds here, so I'm not going to bother underlining them. So 3x squared plus 4x squared is 7x squared, minus x squared is 6x squared. Okay, so the x squareds are all your like terms. All right, let's move on to question 2. Okay, write down the following without the multiplication sign. So this was actually done quite well. Okay, so 6 times m is the same as 6m. It's like going to the supermarket and saying, I'll have 6 times marshmallows. You usually just say 6 marshmallows. So just think there's an imaginary multiplication sign in there that we don't write. We just leave it as 6m. Here we have 3fg. And then at the bottom, C, we have coefficients as well as pronumerals. So we always, this is the same as 2 times 4, and between this 4 and the C, there's a multiply sign, and between the 2 and the D, there's a multiply sign. So these are the same thing, okay, so they're equal. So you can do your numbers first. So your coefficient, so 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and then we do the pronumeral part, C and D. Now, there's no like terms here because we're multiplying. So your terms don't have, your pronumeral parts don't have to be the same when you're multiplying. It only matters when you're adding or subtracting. Okay, so when you're multiplying, you put everything together and that's fine. Okay, next question, we're doing things without a division sign. So your numerator is always written first. So t divided by 2. I did see quite a few students do this. I'm not sure whether you're getting confused because some of the questions on your practice exam did have the pronumeral as a denominator, but it's t divided by 2. So how I read this as a fraction is t divided by 2. So this next one, 4 divided by 5x. And then the last one, doesn't really matter that we got brackets. Okay, so I would write it like that. Might be a good idea to put it in brackets, but you don't need to do that to have it correct. All right, question 4. So this time we are getting rid of multiplication and division signs. And you also need to remember when we've got d times d, we have d squared. I did see on a couple of people's works 2dd. We don't write that. We write 2d squared. The next one, do your coefficients first. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Then the t, we've got a t here and a t here. So it's t times t gives you t squared and then an s on the end. You could also write that as 24s t squared, because if you wanted to do it in alphabetical order, which is usually what we do, either of them is fine. I don't mind if the order of your pronumerals are not in alphabetical order. Okay, and then lastly, C. So r times r times r is r cubed over 2 plus r. Okay, moving along. Question 4 was quite tricky. Okay, so let's go through this one. 10x divided by 2. So first of all, you should say, well, is there any letter on the top that can cancel out with a letter on the bottom? So we only have an x on the numerator, not on the bottom. So the x, if we just draw our vinculum there, x stays on the top. And then 10 divided by 2. So the highest common the highest common factor is 2. So 2 goes into 2 once and 2 goes into 10 5 times. Now we don't usually write fractions as 5x over 1, so we just write that as 5x. All right, the next one, we have 3xy over 9y. So if you just do one thing at a time, it'll just prevent any errors. So I'm going to just say that y disappears. So y over y is equal to 1. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is multiplying by 1, which is, there's no point in writing it. This part here, if you're not understanding why that is true, just think of any number. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. The y just represents some number. So anything that is divided by itself is going to give you 1. All right, so the next step is to find the highest common factor in 3 and 9. So that's going to be 3. So how many times does 3 go into 3? It goes in once, so we're just going to write x, and it goes into 9 3 times. So 3xy over 9y is x over 3. All right, lastly, c. So I'm going to do the p's first. So the p's cancel each other out. And then 7 over 14, hopefully you can realize, is just a half. So for question C, I got a lot of people who wrote 2. Okay, so probably understanding a little bit, but not realizing that 7 over 14 is actually a half, not 2. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so question 5 was done on purpose, although I apologize because I didn't really want such high numbers, but that's okay because you've done BOD maths at the start of the year, so you can deal with high numbers. But basically to see that when you're adding, okay, so this all comes down to like terms. So here we can add this and we multiply this. Okay, so when we add 2d plus 2d, so think about it as 2 donuts plus 2 donuts gives me 4 donuts. Here we have 2d times 2d, so we multiply the number first. 2 times 2 is 4, and then d times d is d squared. Okay, so see the difference with the sign? Here we've got an addition, here we've got a multiplication, so we have a different term. All right, I'm going to do the substitution last. So again, how many donuts do we have? 2 plus 3 plus 1, so we got 6d, 6 donuts. Here we've got a multiplication and an addition. So let's do the 2 times 3 first. So we get 6d squared and then plus d. Okay, so we can't then add these together. So I saw a few people actually add them together because d squared and d are not like terms. Okay, the next one, 3d, that's not going to be the same as the other. So 2 times 3 is 6, d squared. And then over here, we basically have the same thing, but just written around the other way. All right, now let's do our substitution. So if d equals 5, we're going to have 4 times 5, which is 20. Oops. This one here, 6 times 5, which is 30. And even if people didn't get this right, I noticed you got your substitution right. So that's good, but do make sure you can actually simplify it as well. All right, the last one we have 3 times 5, and this might be a bit tricky for some people. 6 times 3 squared. So 3 times 5 is 15. And then 3 squared is 9. Oh, did you notice I put a plus there instead of a multiplication? All right, 6 times 9 is 72. And then 15 plus 72 gives you 87. And I feel like I've made an error somewhere along the line, so I might just pause that. Give me 1 sec. Okay, I did realize what I did. So hopefully you realized when I did it that this was supposed to be a 5. And I knew it was wrong because I knew the answer wasn't 87 because I have marked all your tests. See, me not concentrating, we all make mistakes. I don't know why I had 3 in my head. So let's go back and fix that. Okay, so the problem I did, if you didn't pick it up already, is I'm substituting in d equals 5 and I actually put a 3 here. I think I got it mixed up because I did 3 times 5 here and forgot it was a 5 is d, not 3. Okay, so 15 and then 6 times 25. That's a bit better. Okay, so when you're doing something like this, it might be a bit difficult to say, well, 6 times 25, I'm not too sure. But you should know that 25 goes into 100 4 times. So then we have 2 more lots of 25. So that gives you 150. Or you can say, well, 2 lots of 25 gives me 50. I've got 6 lots, so that's 150. So 6 times 25 shouldn't be that difficult. Even if you do long multiplication, so 25 times 6, did it that way, okay, you should be able to do this without a calculator. Okay, let's move on to here. So 4d squared, so 4 times 25 gives you 100. Here we have 6 times 5 squared plus d. So 6 times 25, which we did over here, so 165 plus 5 gives you 170. And then we did 6d squared before, so I'm just going to cheat, and I think I used the wrong answer, didn't I? So I'm not concentrating. So it's 155, sorry. I took the wrong answer. I should have taken this, not the whole thing. So 6d squared is 150. So then we have 150 plus 15 gives you 165. So for this one here, we've got 6d squared 3 times. So if you've worked it out once, which I did here and I've circled it, you then can just reapply the same there. You don't have to do the working out again. And I think that's the last answer. Let me just double check. Awesome. So your next test is going to be very, very similar. So please make sure you understand what you are doing, and do ask myself or Ms. Glukowska for help, and email me if you do have any problems. Okay, bye-bye girls, good luck.